Hello everyone, so I'm Ross. I've worked for the Music Centre for like 4 years now. So I started with learning guitar at school, got a bit more involved with the music service then and had lessons from people in the music service. Then I went to university, came back and I started volunteering at a school teaching drums and guitar. And then I got a job through knowing a few people, whatnot, and just getting an interview. And then I started working for Funky Pie, which is a company that does arts awards for SEND students. And from that, my things kind of blossomed with just teaching guitar in primary schools and secondary schools, and then eventually getting involved with the nurture groups as well, and doing some one-to-one first, and then getting involved with the group kind of stuff later. And I work in the Valley School as well, doing a project there, which we're kind of formulating some ideas and stuff to bring in, help train tutors up alongside with the school.
Thank you very much, Ross. That's great. Lindsay.
Hello, I'm Lindsay. I'm a steel pan teacher and I've been at Hertfordshire Music Service for about 5 years now. I started when I lived in Hampshire and I grew up through a community music project, and we were just a steel band who were doing a lot of competitions and a lot of touring. And I started teaching when I was about 15. We turned into a charity working abroad. And I relocated to Hertfordshire about 6 years ago. I had my children, and now I've been teaching a lot of first access steel pans. Not so much one-on-one tuition, but a lot of first access. And then I got involved in nurture groups about 3 years ago.
Lindsay, what was the name of your project in Hampshire? It sounds a really interesting project.
It was called Pan Jazz International, but we were formerly Sounds of Steel.
Right, and is it still running?
No, sadly it's not. But we did manage to get their steel pans for Hertfordshire Music Service.
Oh, well, brilliant. Thanks very much, that's great. EJ.
Hi, I started as a participant in Hertfordshire Music Service. I went to a lot of the songwriter workshops, and then in my second year of uni, I started being a trainee, doing some shadow work, and for kind of songwriter workshops, but also some family music workshops and ukulele, and then kind of went into still doing the workshops and then running them, but also some work in pupil referral units, like songwriting, guitar, ukulele, sorry, voice, and then been doing some first access ukulele, and also did do some music nurture groups, but then kind of haven't done as much recently, but I'm going to be getting back into it this time round. So yeah.
Thank you. This is great. And Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I teach voice, piano and songwriting. I was a student at the music service many years ago, and then went to the same uni that Ross went to, but at a different time, so we missed each other. And then when I came back, it just felt like a kind of really natural progression to kind of move back to teaching. Michael interviewed me and kind of briefly spoke about kind of first access and the fact that not that I teach in first access, but the fact that they'd be doing some kind of nurture work. Yeah, and that's kind of how I got into it.
And so I'm going to say one, but I know Victoria said it earlier, so if I'm not stealing it, but it's relevant to me too. Yeah, just about behaviour management and difficulties that can come up. So yeah, that was definitely something I was worried about, or just kind of apprehensive. And then, well, yeah, we had our critical reflection sessions, so we met once a half term, all of these tutors and some more, and just, yeah, talked about like the difficulties we were having or any challenges, or like talking about specific scenarios as well, and then how other people might have tackled them, or just kind of asking each other questions to kind of help ourselves come up with the solutions. And then also we had some training by Darren Abrahams, which I think some of you might have been to as well, and just kind of looking at or learning new techniques about, I don't know, like matching the energy when you go into a room, or trying to get different young people engaged, or those who are quieter versus those who are louder and more dominant. So I found that really useful. And also, yeah, just having regular discussions and kind of like a support group for tutors. Okay.
So that was the regular critical reflection sessions, and we ran those, I think, every half term in the first instance, and then we did it every week during the lockdown.
I think it might have been something that EJ suggested in one of the sessions, but it was in regards to a student that had ADHD, and I think EJ, you suggested, and I've used it now with some of my students, that you do activities that involved movement, so there wasn't lots of kind of sitting down. So it was like giving the child something to do, and kind of helping to channel that energy. And I found that really useful, instead of trying to be really kind of linear and thinking I need everyone to sit down and listen. You were doing the activities, but you were doing them with movement, and that's something that I definitely use in my practice now.
That's a great example. It's a really good example, because I'm thinking back to the video of Mark Howe's practice, and he's very kind of embodied, isn't he? Because people are moving around the space the whole time. That's a great example. I've forgotten that one. Yeah. And also, sorry, EJ.
Oh, I was just going to say, because a lot of people, when they listen to music, they express themselves with movement as well. So it's like, if we're making it and there is that space, and it's like appropriate, then why not? Like, yeah.
Yeah, great. Victoria, you had a kind of example of what you do at the start of sessions that I remember you mentioned earlier. Can you say a bit about that and the context that it came from? It's got a kind of behaviour management theme, isn't it?
Yeah, so EJ and I did some work in a youth centre in Hatfield, and one of the youth workers kind of suggested it at the start of the project, was that we made like a group contract. So kind of all the things that we wanted from each other, and that the students wanted from each other, and what they wanted from us. So I do that at the start of my nurture groups. We kind of talk about what we need to make the sessions kind of fun and productive, how we should talk to each other, how we should treat each other, and why those values are important. I try not to suggest too much. I try and let the students come up with their own rules, or if you want to call them rules, or their own kind of like behaviours that we should follow. But it's really useful, because it's that reminder of, and even for me as well, it's that reminder of like why we do things. Sometimes we're just told to do things, aren't we, and we just do them. But it's really nice for us to sit there and talk about why it's important to listen to each other, or why it's important not to make fun of each other if we get something wrong, or whatever it is that we've decided to do. And I find it really useful as well, because then the students will pull each other up if they're not quite following the rules. And we sign it at the end as well. We sign the bottom of the paper, so it feels official.
And you made a link to a kind of real world application as well. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so I at the moment I have two brothers who are obsessed with football, so the way that we kind of linked it, and for them to kind of, and it really clicked, and it was really nice to see that moment where they were like, it makes sense. We talked about their favourite football player, who I think was Ronaldo, but it could have been someone else, and we were just talking about why, or the similarities between what makes a good musician and what makes a good footballer. So we talked about things like respecting their teammates and working together, making sure that like they listen to their coach, that they practice, all of these kind of things, all the things that are important to make someone, or to allow us to be really good at something, or to even just enjoy doing something. And they seem to get that once it was kind of football related.
Yeah. And they'll be relevant when they get to play in bands when they're older as well.
Exactly.
You need to listen to turn your guitar down, yeah.
Sometimes I get children to like rate things or tell me things using their hands, or to act things out rather than to actually speak them. So if we're listening to a piece of music, sometimes at the beginning we'll listen to different pieces of music, and I'll just get them to tell me how it makes them feel, just using their just actions. Sometimes that's a bit easier rather than than speaking, especially if you've got a non-verbal student, or just giving it a rating, if they liked it out of 5, what they would give it. And sometimes that helps just to sort of open up some communication to start with, I found.
Yeah, that's a really nice example. Yeah, and it's very fun as well. It sounds like a really playful thing to do. Yeah. Well, if you have a sort of a young person who really doesn't want to do anything, what happens then? How do you play that?
I think with stuff like that, it's a weird one to start, because you kind of go in and you're not necessarily expecting everyone to join in, but sometimes there'll be a lot more people that join in than others. And I've had it before where I don't know, I don't force it. Like, I never really force it, because I feel like it feels really unnatural if you try to really heavily make someone feel that they need to give you an answer. But I think it's then the thing of like asking a question later, and just trying to introduce them that it's like okay to answer the question. And you may not get an answer to start off with, but don't make a big thing out of it or anything. Just move on to something else or someone else to give an answer. And I feel like that gradually starts to work someone up to being a little bit more open and being able to ask a question. But I think putting pressure on someone's like the worst thing to do, especially if they're a bit withdrawn. But I think more that they get to know you and the more social it gets, it becomes a lot easier for someone to be able to feel comfortable to answer a question or to involve themselves a little bit more. Like, I had someone at the start that didn't really want to kind of engage in that kind of way with talking about themselves or even playing like a certain thing, and I'd be like, that's absolutely fine, not to worry. And then by the end of the sessions, like when just before we went into lockdown, he was one of the people that were like, does it sound like this? Does it go like this? And then start playing it for me to be like, yeah, it goes like that. That's perfect. And I think it's the thing of just building that up eventually to get that kind of rapport with someone.
That's lots of nodding going on there, and that's a great example, I think. I was really thinking as you were talking of that young person in the video talking about I learn piano sometimes, make friends, yeah, in a kind of very nonchalant way. But I remember him sitting in that session. He came along with a hoodie on, and he sat with the hoodie up, and he didn't join in for the first half hour. And I was sort of thinking, how's this going to go? And I was watching Mark, and he didn't push him at all. He just kind of let him do it. He just let him be there. And he's got an activity where he sort of says, okay, everybody with glasses now will play. Everybody with long hair now. And he went, anyone wearing a hoodie now? And he kind of put his hoodie down and sort of joined in at that point and beamed, because he saw he'd been recognised, but it had been allowed to join in when he wanted to, which was a really lovely moment. Lindsay, I think he was one of your students, wasn't he? Can you say a little bit about him?
Yeah, so he spent a lot of the first sessions a lot like that, and I think he'd put up a front someone that was really had a difficult time at school, and had faced a lot of bullying. So I think for him, he was naturally quite withdrawn a lot of the time, especially in the early sessions. And it was a case I found that just letting him be part of the room, he actually just kind of enjoyed being part of the room. And although for a lot of the session he might not join until the end, it's always that way, isn't it, when you feel like just towards the end of the session you warm up. I felt like that if I've been in a social situation and I've just got to the end and I felt like I could start to talk to people. But more gradually, as time went on, he did join in more, and he was one of my first access students, and it really transferred over to first access as well. It was really lovely to see his confidence picking up, and it was really nice to see that in that day he still came along and he did join in eventually. It was really, really nice to see. But yeah, not pressing him and just letting him just be part of the room did help him to start taking some small risks, I think.
Yeah, that's a lovely kind of case study there, isn't there? And people were asking in the earlier session about what kind of evaluation do we do, and we were saying, well, we write reports really using the basic music service report form, but we also do case studies. And somebody was a little bit apprehensive, what's a case study? Lindsay's just done one there, and that's basically it. You just describe a young person's progress through the project, and what you might have done to help them. And obviously there's a lot of subtlety around that you don't push them until they're ready. If you've got a question, do ask now, because these guys have been running the project and they know they've got lots of rich knowledge for you to draw on. Okay, question from Kostos.
I think for me, like the most important thing, the way that you want to be, and I don't know if this goes for everyone, going back to talking about that whole thing of not pressuring someone, I think one of the most important things to do is like present yourself just as a person. Like these are nurture groups, you know, like what I said earlier was that we are literally people that have a deep love for music, and like that's the reason why we want to do this stuff. And introduce yourself as that kind of person, and don't explain yourself as like, oh, I'm a teacher, I do this, I do that. Explain yourself as just who you are, you know, like you're a musician, you love this kind of music. What kind of music does everyone else love? Like really try and introduce yourself more as a person, because I think it's the whole point of these sessions. Not that we've got the kind of like the hierarchy above people, you know, it's just no one wants that. And this is just a nice grounded level. So that's my opinion on it anyway.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Does anybody else want to come in on that? Because that was a really great question. Anybody else got any ways about how they introduce themselves?
Sometimes I'll definitely do that and kind of, yeah, maybe say which music I like, or the instruments I play and all of those things. But sometimes I'll play a song at the beginning using the instrument that I'm using with them. So normally it's ukulele, and I'll play my own song because I usually do songwriting and ukulele in the lessons. So yeah, it's just kind of like, you know, an example. And then sometimes I've asked them to think about what they think the song is about, and then explain, like, you know, there's no right or wrong. Everyone can have a different interpretation, and then it gets you talking about songwriting. And yeah, that can be quite fun. Although I did have a time when I sang a song and this boy just couldn't stop laughing the whole time. I was just like, okay, I hope it's not that funny. But yeah, I think it's just because it was so abnormal to him. Like no one's ever come in and, you know, just started singing. And I think, yeah, they just came out and laughed for him. It was fine.
As you're saying that, I'm remembering some of the feedback, and one of the bits of feedback in one of your sessions, I don't think you'll mind me saying, is that some of the young people said, I really liked the music making and getting to know the kind of person EJ is. So I thought it was a lovely comment, getting to know somebody through their music making. It's a brilliant comment, yeah. Mm-hmm. But it also goes to both your comment and Ross's comment, go to what we found when people working in ESCs, is they really liked knowing that people were practicing musicians, that they were going off and doing gigs, and they didn't want to think of the tutors as being like teachers. They liked them being something different to everything else. So everything you've said so far absolutely chimes with that. And the other thing that came out of the working ESCs and some of the work we did in secondary schools is if the young people felt that they were receiving a kind of therapeutic style intervention arranged for them by the school, they sometimes rebelled against it as a kind of institutional tactic. They didn't want that kind of thing. They wanted it just to be music making again. So how you introduce yourself as a musician feels really key to this process. Lindsay and Victoria, have you got any thoughts about how you introduce yourselves as you?
I was just thinking about the name situation. I had one of my schools, because some of my schools like me to be quite informal and they want me to be Lindsay, and other schools like me to just be Mrs. Campbell. So I think I'd started a nurture group, or just introduced the children for the first time, and I think I'd said, hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm a pan player, and blah blah blah. And then afterwards, the Senko and the head teacher were like, oh, we really want you to be Mrs. Campbell. So that was a good thing for me to remember, that just to check that before I go in, just do they want me to be Lindsay or Mrs. Campbell in that particular school? Which I know sounds really silly, but I think it's important to some of the schools. Yeah.
And that goes back to Christina's introduction about the setup with the Senko, learning this core behaviour policy, and really, I suppose you can ask then, how would you want me to refer to myself? Yeah, that's a really nice story. Yeah. This is a kind of warm-up activity that you could do. So over the next little while, we're going to talk about different activities that people can use, practical activities in the sessions. So this is something that I use in some of my first access practice, and it's simply a kind of warm-up thing that turns into an improvisation thing as we go. Okay, so I do a thing where I say, hold out your left hand, and I'm going to throw you an apple. So I throw them an apple. They catch it in their hand, so they get that hand curling around like a string player thing. And then I get them to pick the third finger. Don't count the thumb. 1, 2, 3. And then you put the third finger on the third fret, behind the third fret of the first string being the one nearest the ground. Press down with your thumb behind, and then you play a note. So we'll go around the rooms. Okay, so I'll call it. I'll play then Nairi, EJ, Lindsay, Ross, starting with Mr. Davidson. Okay, kind of work. Okay, let's try it again. So we'll go around the circle. It will be me, Ross, Lindsay, EJ, Nairi, that way. So me first, then Ross.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, very slightly sharp. But
how about us?
Sounds better. Okay. Okay, so that's your first note. So we're only going to play 2 notes here, that note and the open string. So the game, and I always call it a game, goes like this. I would do it to the whole class to start off with, that I would play and they have to copy back. But because of latency, we'll do it individually. So I'm going to play 2 notes and I'm going to invite someone to play it back. So I'm going to play this to Lindsay. Okay, Lindsay, 2 notes. And can you copy it back as perfect as you can? Fantastic. Okay, and here's one for Ross. I know Ross plays a bit of guitar, so I'm going to make his a little bit more complicated.
Cheers.
Whoa, okay, very nice. Okay, EJ.
My sleeve's in the way.
Okay, nice. Okay, I like you sped it up. Okay, Nairi. Okay, pressure on. Marvelous. And now you get to challenge me back. Okay, so would you like to play something for me to play back? Did I manage it? Yeah, thank you. Okay, yes. Okay, right. So this time we're going to do something, and I'm going to play something, and I want you to answer it rather than playing the same thing. And this goes to EJ first, okay? So EJ, I'm going to play something. I want you to answer it with an answer. Oh, okay, lovely. Okay, so if you play yours to Lindsay this time, can you play something that she's going to answer it? I like it. I like the spaciousness, actually. That's good. Would you like to play a spacious offering to Nairi and invite her to answer it? This is lovely. Okay, we've got some music going on here. So we'll do a kind of interactive thing now. So I'll play something, and then whoever else wants to respond, just do it. And if it becomes a mashup, I really don't care. It will be creative. Here we go.
Sorry, couldn't help it.
I feel relaxed now. That's great. It's got me in the Friday afternoon mood. Okay, so you can see this is just a bit of fun that then you start to make the music from the social interaction. And if we weren't online, we could make it work better with some more composition ideas. But it works as quite a nice warm-up.
I work a lot with djembes. I do a lot of ukulele as well in the nurture groups, but I've mainly been working on drum stuff a lot. And the things that I do is like an icebreaker, which is really, really good, is using a game that we call Please Don't Copy Back, which is if you go like this, which is the syllables for please don't copy back. No one's allowed to copy you. Some people vocalize it out, so they want you to sing it back to you after. I normally just do it that no one plays, so they're really registering what's going on sound-wise. So say, for example, I could play something like this, and then you guys or whoever would be in the group would play back and be, so to do a double. The thing is that's really interesting about this as well is that you all get into this weird certain pulse where it's almost like people can just feel where the rhythm and the beat should follow when you play something, which is really, really interesting to do as well. So yeah, do you want me to show you some of that on this?
Absolutely, please do.
Wonderful. Right, so I have a drum. Dun dun dun, here's a drum. You might recognize these from a music centre quite near you. Wonderful. So what I would do, so if I played this, someone would copy back. Oh, done. Fantastic. If I do this though, no one's going to, because it's please don't copy back. Cool? Right, so if I was to do it, all kids at home, give it a try. Right, so let's have a go. So it'll be like this. Nice, then. Yay, well done everyone, fantastic. So it kind of works like that, and the reason why I like doing it as well is because then once people have more of a grasp of the game, they can take the lead. And the main thing about our sessions, like we talked about before, is about taking the lead and being able to take control of something and to kind of let them have a go. And you'll find that a lot of people really think quite hardly into it, and it's great because you can see them coming up with rhythm. But then I try to get them to just say things almost like if they were to speak, and they just think about it a little bit and they know exactly what they're going to do. Because it doesn't really matter what they play, as long as they don't play the please don't copy back, and they can play anything. They can do one hit, they can do a scrape, they can do whatever they want to. And the one thing that kind of leads on from this as well, which I didn't really speak about earlier, is that I use a lot of kind of vocalizing our syllables and stuff of how we use to play drums, just from using their name and just getting everyone to split their name up into syllables and then making a beat out of that, so we can make a whole beat out of it as we go around a classroom. Because most of the students that I've got are all in the same class, so they all know each other's first names and second names. But then I also do the thing where we break like a crotchet down into run and a bunch of quavers into running, so everyone gets to create their own beat, and then we make our own beat that way. And that's like a really good foundation of songwriting, because then, say for example, because I play guitar a lot, then I'll come in and be like, right, these are the chords that we can have, and then what chords can we put over the top? So then I get them to take ownership with taking what chord they want, and everyone kind of makes their own song, which is really, really good, because then you have, say if you've got 4 people in a group, you've got 4 lots of 4 different chord progressions that you can all tie into one, which is really, really interesting. And everyone takes ownership over their specific part of the song.
one thing that I found really useful with my students, especially the ones who are maybe completely new to songwriting, or some of the kind of younger ones, and I guess would really work as well if you're working as a class, is that I've written songs around the days of the week. So it's just a really nice, easy way to get into it. And in fact, it wasn't even a song, it was a rap in the end, that we made a kind of, we used the ukulele chords to kind of make a beat. So we'd play the chord and then tap the ukulele. So that was our kind of like hip hop beat. It was very cool. And then exactly like that. That's exactly what we did. It was a little bit funkier and a little bit quicker than that, though, Michael.
I've got the gig. Right.
Yeah, and then we just literally went through. We did a few different ones. We did one where it was just literally what we'd done that week, we talked about, and then we also did one that was kind of like our dream week. So for my two boys, it involved a lot of football, as you can imagine. So it's playing football, watching football, all the different things. Yeah, and it was great because it was just great for rhythm, for us playing together. We took turns, you know, with the different lines and playing the ukuleles. I let them kind of completely organize the song or the rap how they wanted to, and I guess you could move on from that by having like a sung chorus potentially, but it's a good way of getting into songwriting if you have people that don't necessarily want to sing. You can still kind of have that creativity, and yeah, it worked quite well.
Again, that sounds brilliant. Yeah. Have you got recordings of it? Not necessarily now, but at some point.
I have somewhere, yeah. Not.
I'd love to hear it. Yes. And as an activity, you know, we did that thing that EJ did about lambs and springtime earlier on. Could you run a kind of activity like this now, do you think, potentially? Or is that, I'm wondering, can we bring people onto camera?
Yeah, I mean, we could do a days of the week.
I think
that could be a good one to hear what everyone's been up to.
I think so. It's got to be okay. So people who've been listening so far, this is your chance to shine. So please do come back onto camera and off mute and be part of this beautiful creative thing for a Friday afternoon.
EJ mentioned before that that you like to use rhyme, don't you? And I kind of do as well. I think sometimes it helps focus the lyrics a little bit, and it can make it kind of flow a bit more. So let's see if we can try and make it rhyme. We'll start with Monday. If anyone's feeling brave, what did they do on Monday?
Monday was a fun day. I don't know. What was I doing on Monday?
Back to work.
Yeah,
yes.
Back to work.
Go on then, Michael, that'll do.
Back to work on Monday.
I liked your Monday. Monday was a fun day. Back to work, something.
Monday was a fun day. Back to work again.
Yeah, I love that. Let's have that. Who wants to do Tuesday?
Tuesday was my run day.
Oh, do we have another little line to finish it off?
Tuesday was my run day. This week it was really hard. I don't know if that won't fit, but I can just so you know, yeah, the training program was really hard this week. But Tuesday was my run day. What do I need to rhyme it with?
So we had Monday was my fun day, back to work again. Tuesday was my run day. Went running with a friend.
I thought it would never end.
I
thought it would never end. Yes. I'm not allowed to run with a friend yet, but EJ's hit the nail on the head. Yes. Thank you. Perfect.
I love it. Should we just try, just so we don't go too far? It's always good to have a little practice. Michael, do you think you could give us a little chord and a beat on the ukulele? And then we can try. Oh, I guess we've got lag, haven't we, on Zoom?
Don't ask E flats because I'm not good on E flat. I can do it in C.
Tess, did you feel confident enough to sing or rap your line?
Oh, I didn't realise I'm going to have to do that. I thought I just...
No! Look, I'm not doing any of these tutor groups, you know.
I know. I feel your pain, Kirsty. I feel the stress. Stress is real.
I know. No, I'm one of those really quiet children that just likes to watch.
I was about to say,
and
me, so you know, it's always good to be.
I'm never putting my hand up again.
And if this does happen, then sometimes either I'll sing it and get the student to sing it back to me or rap it back to me, or we'll try doing it all together as a group so that no one feels out on a ledge by themselves. But yeah.
Well, we've got 2 days of the week, which is, I mean, it's kind of we've got a feel for how it's going to work.
Exactly.
EJ, do you have your ukulele to hand?
Yep.
Because it was a good moment early when you played and sang. So I'm kind of thinking we've done the lyric writing bit, over to the songwriter.
Oh yeah.
What was it was Monday. What was the first line, sorry?
Monday is a fun day.
Monday is a fun day, back to work again. Yeah. Okay, it's a bit short, but I've got Monday is a fun day. Wait, Monday is a fun day, back to work again. Tuesday was my run day, thought it would never end. Something else on Wednesday.
I like it already. Could you do a thing where you really extend the day of the week? So, like, Monday was a fun day.
Oh, looks like you've got it.
Over to Michael.
Yeah.
Look, she's got a voice. Go on.
Monday is a fun day, back to work again. Da, da, da. Tuesday is my run day. Da, 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 da. Thought it would never end.
Are we ready for our chorus? That was lovely, by the way. Sorry.
What would I?
Okay. Have we got a chorus?
I haven't yet.
We haven't. Perhaps not all songs need choruses. It's a bit obvious.
No, exactly. You know,
A bit
there's no
post-
rules in songwriting. You can do whatever you want.
Well done, EJ. Thanks very much again for rising to being put on the spot. I wanted to, I know earlier, Lindsay, I was kind of teeing it up for you to sort of talk a bit about how you wrote that song with the young person that sang it at the Nurture Group Day. Can you talk a little bit about the song that you wrote with the young person?
Yeah, so one of my students was part of a bigger Nurture Group. She was there with her brothers and sisters for bereavement purposes, and they subsequently decided that the age range in that Nurture Group was too big because I think I had 8 in that group, from Key Stage 1 to Key Stage 2. So they decided to make 2 Nurture Groups. Eventually, when the rest of her group, who were in Year 6, left, the Senko decided that it would be really lovely for me to just carry on with her one-on-one, which was brilliant. And it gave us an opportunity to, she just wanted to really talk about her dad, who she lost. And I found her wanting to talk about it quite a lot. And at the time we were doing some steel pan arranging. I was teaching her how to put some of her favourite songs onto pan, and how to spread them and voice everything out. And she really loved that. And she branched from doing that into singing. She really loved singing. So I said to her, would you like to put some of these thoughts and ideas that you've got about your dad into a song? So she started we just sort of brainstormed some ideas. I said, what sort of happy memories do you have about your dad, or what sort of lovely things do you want to remember? And we kind of wrote it and planned it all out into sort of a section. But she already had a bit of an idea of a melody. And I think she really liked that song by Rihanna, Diamonds in the Sky. I don't know if that's the name of the song or that's just like the main lyric, but she used that as a kind of inspiration for some of her, for one of her lyrics. So she does reference Diamond and Sky because obviously she likes to think he's up there. And so I just played a bit of piano in the background for her, and she just sung. She kind of came up with a melody herself, really, really clever. And I'd love it if she went on to do something like songwriting. I've signposted her onto songwriting now because I think that would be really lovely for her to do. But that's how it came about, and that was the process. It's really her. She did a lot of the melody herself. It's just me in the background doing a bit of dodgy piano.
But you did didn't you use a bit of technology at some point? Wasn't there a recording bit of it?
Yeah, we did. I did get her to use GarageBand on the iPad because it's a really good interface. Because you can obviously do finger drums. You've got the piano on there, bass guitar. Cause you've got all the instruments, haven't you? To just kind of like play with your fingertips. It's quite accessible. So we did do a bit of brainstorming initially. We never really got to finish it, which we're hoping to now go on and finish. So this is kind of a very rough recording of her just singing and me on the piano in the early stages.
Well, actually, what I've got is the video of you playing it at the event at the Music Centre.
When I wake up in the morning, I was so excited to see your face. You shine bright like a diamond. You shine bright like a diamond in the sky. I try not to hide it, but I just can't help it because you shine bright like a diamond. You shine bright like a diamond in the sky. I look up at your face and all I see. When I wake up in the morning, I was so excited to see your face. You shine bright like a diamond. You shine bright like a diamond in the sky. I try not to hide it, but I just can't help it because you shine bright like a diamond. You shine bright like a diamond in the sky.
Aww.
I thought it was brilliant, and I wanted to. I know that wasn't as polished as the recording you sent through, but I wanted to share it because I thought it was brilliant in so many ways, because you could see the trust that she had in you, that she was putting herself on the line, singing that song, and my goodness, what a song to sing in public like that. But she was, you got her through it, and she just was confident to stand there and for it to break down a bit, and she just stuck with it. It was a tremendous moment. And I was watching, as I was playing it then, the young person behind your shoulder, sitting behind, she was watching going, this is amazing. You can see her friends that are watching, what's she doing? She's standing up and doing this. And I thought it was just such a brilliant moment of the day. Tremendous.